Hello everybody, welcome back to Tom Reads Things. Goodness me. Hello everybody, welcome back to Tom Reads Things. My name's Tom. I hope you're all having the time of your life on this wonderful Saturday. I was hoping to do a bit of gardening today, but I think it's going to be a bit rainy. My other half, Mark, is out doing a skydive for charity, so I'm trying to distract myself. Like, literally, a skydive is my worst nightmare, so I'm trying to distract myself by recording lots of videos, reading. I was hoping to do a bit of gardening, but don't think that's going to happen. And I've taken my little Cocker Spaniel Sally to the spa for the day, so she's off to get a haircut and all that lovely stuff. Bit of pampering, but anyway. So yeah, my garden's doing well. Mark's been really great looking after it. Should I show you actually? Never have too many fuchsias. Look at all of this. Isn't that wonderful? Lovely bit of lavender. Sorry, look at that hanging basket. It is huge. Look at those. Aren't they wonderful? Got them the other day, they're so nice. So yeah, that's my garden. So let's talk about some books, shall we? So what I thought I would do is talk you through what I have been recently reading, what I read at the end of June, what I'm reading now at the beginning of July, and that kind of wonderful stuff. So let's start off with a book that I finished recently and absolutely loved, and that was How to Be a Tudor by Ruth Goodman. So what I really liked about this book is that she goes into a lot of detail about the kind of daily life of everyday Tudors, which was really, really interesting. As I said in my previous video when I spoke about this book, you kind of really only get the side of Henry VIII or Elizabeth I or Mary I, all of the kind of monarchs of Tudor history in sort of non-fiction literature. But with this book, you learn about the kind of everyday Tudors, and that was really interesting. You learn about where common phrases come from, such as sleep tight, that kind of thing. I'll let you read the book to find out where that comes from. One thing I found a bit weird in this book is that she keeps on basically boasting about how great her daughter is. She's like, my daughter's a seamstress and she was able to sew this many things in this many hours. It's like, all right, check out. I want to know about the Tudors, not about how great your daughter is. But yeah, you can tell she's got a real passion for the Tudors, and this really came across in the book, and it gave me I've been obsessed with the Tudors since I was very, very, very young, and I thought I knew a hell of a lot about them, but this gave me a real insight into the everyday life of everyday Tudors, and it kind of follows through the day. So it starts off with a chapter about waking up and what they would have for breakfast, and it kind of goes through the day in that way. So yeah, highly recommend this book. The next book that I want to talk about is 100% going to be one of my favourite reads of the year, if not one of my favourite reads of all time. And I wasn't expecting it to be, but I really, really enjoyed it. And that is Winn Hurst by Michelle Paver. So I recently finished this and kind of had a bit of a book hangover, if you like, after I read it. I was a bit like, oh God, what do I read now? Nothing's going to be as good as this. So Winn Hurst follows the story of a young lady in Edwardian Suffolk. She is about 10 years old, I think, and her name is Maud, and she lives in a kind of stately home with her parents, her mother, who she is very close to, and her father, who she is less close to. She also has two younger brothers who she's not incredibly close to either, really. One day her father finds a painting that was done, I think, in like the 12th century, something like that. He finds it in the church, in the grounds of the stately home where he is living, and this painting starts to kind of torment him, and the story kind of goes on from there, talking about how this painting starts to kind of drive him mad, and his relationship with his daughter and how that changes through that. The Fens, where this book is set, around the kind of Cambridgeshire, Suffolk area, is where I'm from. It's where I live now. I live right slap bang in the middle of the Fens, and the Fens as a landscape play a huge important role in this book. And Michelle Paver does an amazing job of talking about the Fens, describing the Fens, and as from someone who comes from the Fens, she really captures the spirit of it. There's a lot of kind of myth and folklore surrounding the Fens, and she really captures that effortlessly as well, and really kind of creatively. So I really, really, really enjoyed this book. I think the character of Maud is brilliant. She is an amazing heroine. She's got a real tough side to her. She's incredibly headstrong. She's brave. She is at times very vulnerable. And I just think it's an absolutely brilliant book. Do pick this up if any of that sounds interesting to you. Please, please, please read it. I really loved it. Shall we read Winn Hurst, Harry? Okay. Oh, yeah. The next book that I would like to talk about is Women in Power by Mary Beard. So this is a manifesto. So this is something I've been wanting to read for ages. I'm a huge Mary Beard fan, and I work in Cambridge, and Mary Beard is a professor at the university where I work, and I'm absolutely obsessed with her. I love all of her documentaries. I've still to read I think it's SPQR, but I love all of her kind of documentaries. She is probably, you know, the country's best loved classicist behind Simon's mum. I think she's absolutely brilliant. I really, really, really like her. And I see her at Cambridge train station some mornings, and I just have to stop myself from sort of squealing and going, "Oh my God, Mary, I love you." So yeah, I was really, really looking forward to reading this, and it did not disappoint. It is very short, as you can see, but it kind of gives a real insight into women in power and the kind of power struggle between men and women throughout history in a very high level, but also very well-rounded way. And what I really like about the way that she presents this is she uses figures from literature to kind of demonstrate that power struggle. So I think right at the beginning, she's talking about a character in Homer's Odyssey, where this female character comes down the stairs and tries to interrupt her son, who is talking to some other men, and the son says, "Look, basically just go away, go back upstairs. These discussions are not for women." So she starts right at the very beginning of kind of, you know, very early civilization talk in literature, and talks about how women are presented and the kind of relationships, the kind of power struggle relationships between men and women. And she also goes on to talk about a book called Herland by, I think it's by Charlotte Perkins Stetson. So you can see here, she's got like a little picture there of what it is. So Herland is set in a kind of utopia where women have learnt to procreate without men, and they just give birth to other women. And so it's just a society full of women, and basically they've done a really bloody good job of it, as I think they would do in our society now. And all of a sudden these men sort of come to the utopia, and they're like, well, let's get involved, let's change things. And Mary Beard sort of shows that the women in that book are very submissive to the men when they come. They're like, "Oh yes, thanks for coming along to help us," and basically the men ruin it all. So yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed this. Women in Power by Mary Beard. Bloody love Mary Beard. The next book that I would like to have a little chit chat to you about is the book that I'm currently reading, and that is As Meat Loves Salt by Maria McCann. Now, I'm reading this as a buddy read with Simon from Savage Reads, and well, I've cheated a little bit. So I sort of DNF'd this earlier in the year. I didn't really DNF it because I always knew I was going to come back to it, but I had already read about 100 pages earlier this year and decided that wasn't the right time for me to be reading it, so I put it down. And Simon suggested doing a buddy read, so I picked it back up again, and I'm so glad I did. It is bloody brilliant. I'm about 226 pages through, so I'm about halfway through, and it is amazing. I am fully invested in all of these characters now, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. It follows the story of a guy called Jacob Cullen, who was a very educated servant in a royalist stately home in the 1640s, and with the civil war that's going on, he escapes to basically fight in Cromwell's army. And it's also packed full of lots of information about the civil war at that time. So yes, cannot wait to read more of this. As I say, I'm doing it as a buddy read with Simon from Savage Reads. He's definitely going to catch up with me today because I'm filming a load of videos, so woohoo! So thank you very much for watching. I'll be back very soon with a book haul video for you all, so I will see you then. Thanks, bye! Do you like this bit, Harry? Good, isn't it?